name's Dan. No, that's not right. Hello, my name's Richard. Welcome to We're Not Wizards. It's another 6 Degrees of Expectation, and today we're looking at CoraQuest. And CoraQuest is designed by Cora Hughes and her father, Dan Hughes, who's obviously just along to kind of ride on the coattails of her glory in this game. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. 6 Degrees of Expectation is basically designed to tell you what you can expect when you get a game to the table, and and whether or not your expectations will be met by what you expect, or something, pretty much. Coffee? At its core, CoraQuest is a dungeon crawler, and what that means is that you will be exploring a dungeon in order to basically fulfill the requirements of a quest, and that will be fighting a bad guy, rescuing somebody, discovering a treasure. Normal kind of dungeony type fare. To play CoraQuest is quite simple. You'll always be playing 4 characters, so there's always going to be 4 characters in the dungeon. Whether you're playing with kind of like 2 players or 4 players, there's always going to be 4 characters in the dungeon. During your turn, you're going to move, you're going to potentially fight, you can do a search action, and you can also do a swap action. Now, the dungeon tiles, and they are dungeon tiles, treasure chest, trying to escape. They are dungeon tiles. Basically, what you'll be doing is you'll be moving through the dungeon, and as a character, when you reach the edge of a dungeon, you've got an option. You can explore that dungeon, which means you can turn over a card, and that will allow you to put another card down, and you can continue on your way. You'll also have the option to move through the dungeon, and that will be based on the movement points that you have, and you can also fight against some of the nasties who are going to appear in the dungeon as you play. Interestingly enough, every character has its own equipment that it uses. There's additional equipment that you can find in the dungeon as well. There's also, every character has their own special move as well. So when you play a special move, you have a specific kind of what you call like a threat track or quest track. When you use your special move, at the end of the round, you'll be moving your individual character token back down the track until it actually, basically for 2 rounds, until it becomes available again. But also at the same time, you've got to make sure you're continuing to explore the dungeon as well, because you've got to watch out for the big bad dungeon token. Every time on a round you don't explore, this will move down the track. As soon as it moves off the track altogether, then you'll be bringing in the household favourite, big giant spiders, and they will then come in through all of the spider webs and start to chase after the dungeon party. Isn't that wonderful? Combat is based around dice, and when you're facing off against an opponent, you will roll your dice, and based on the number of I didn't roll a thing, absolute blanks, brilliant. And based on the number of magical starfish that you roll when you're attacking a character, that will hit them for a certain number of points. When you hit them, you'll be basically taking a heart token, and you'll be adding that underneath the character, which is the way that we did it. And once it passes the character's hit points, then that character will be removed from play. Unfortunately, if your hero character loses all of their hit points, then they will be removed from the dungeon. They are allowed to give up any equipment that they gained to other players as they leave. Unfortunately, if you lose 2 players in your game of CoraQuest, then you lose the game. One of the other aspects of combat that is that when you do roll, if I roll the dice, which I've rolled and I've done like a bad job, my character would flip over the card and they would become determined. When a character is determined, it basically increases the number of dice that they get to roll on their next attempt, which means I'll kind of continue to be in this determined state until I roll a successful dice roll. So for younger players, this is going to be fantastic, as it will increase the chances of them scoring a success against a potential enemy and also reduce the amount of frustration. The other thing that you can do is you can search for treasure. When you search for treasure, you'll be removing a token off the treasure chest and you'll be taking a card off the top of the treasure chest, and that will be giving you potentially equipment or potions or even a horrific trap, if you're lucky or if you are unlucky, depending on how things go. As you're playing the game, you will be unearthing kind of new tiles, and most of the tiles are numbered. Some of the tiles have actually got a letter on them. When you unearth a tile that's got a letter on it, then you refer back to the quest book, and that will basically give you a little bit of narrative and potentially some extra equipment and tell you where you're meant to be going in order to fulfill the requirements of the quest. Usually when you set up at the beginning, you'll be placing the kind of the end game tile deep down into the tile deck, and then that will usually, as I say, trigger the end game event. It could be fighting a last big bad guy, or discovering a treasure, or rescuing somebody, depending on how things kind of go. CoraQuest is a game that's designed to be played with young children, families. So in terms of learning, the biggest time you'll take will be setting up, putting out your character cards, and probably actually people fighting over which character do they want to be, let's face it. In terms of learning time, because there's a basic number of moves that you have to learn and actions that you have to learn, it's actually set up so that you can pretty much start at the dungeon space and then just everybody dive in, and you can learn it as you go. A couple of rounds in, probably everybody's still going to be asking a couple of questions and just checking everything. By the time you get into maybe round 3 or 4, everybody's going to know what they want and what to do, and everybody can just kind of see their way around and explore the dungeon together. So very, very simple to learn. In terms of looks, I was trying to figure this out in my head what to say. The art in CoraQuest is not what you would say good art, nor is it bad art, but the art in CoraQuest is what I would say is pure art, in the fact that every single character, pretty much most of the dungeon and everything that you see in here, has either been designed by Cora herself, or it's been designed by children who have submitted pictures and their own drawings to be included in the game itself. And thanks to the skills of Gary King, Gary has gone ahead and deluxified the characters in order to kind of give them light and shade and a little bit of extra character. But so everything from kind of like the damage tokens to the individual bad guys to even the kind of the way the icons on the dice are drawn is pure, wonderful, lovely and charming, and just oozes the fact that this is a game that is designed to be played by the younger kind of audience, and it looks wonderful and colourful when it's kind of on the table. In terms of the amount of space, how it looks on the table, yes, you're going to have your main dungeon set up, and everybody's going to have their own type of character card, which they'll have at various points around the table as well. Setup usually takes about 5-10 minutes on repeated plays. You'll know exactly what tokens you'll be kind of laying out. I would expect probably a first time game, you're probably looking at maybe a 15-minute setup while everything kind of gets organised and together. In terms of a first game as well, probably set aside maybe 45 minutes to even an hour while everybody kind of gets up to speed. But once you have got everything up to speed, you can probably play in a game. Again, 45 minutes for a really, really quick game. But again, this is going to be probably the type of game that you're going to be taking your time over. There's going to be a little bit of discussion, potentially a little bit of bickering, as people kind of make their way around the dungeon and decide to split up and go their own way or decide what they're going to do. So 45 minutes to an hour would probably be a very, very good kind of estimate of that if you're playing CoraQuest. So that's CoraQuest by Cora Hughes and Dan Hughes. It's currently on Kickstarter at the moment. We were provided this prototype version just to produce this video for you. I hope it's given you a good idea of what you can expect when you get CoraQuest to the table. My name's Richard. This is We're Not Wizards. This is 6 Degrees of Expectation. So remember, stay safe. Roll 1 starfish. It's a red one. It doesn't make a difference, but I'm taking it. Make something awful. But until the next time, goodbye. CoraQuest. 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 CoraQuest.